Hey guys, welcome to People I Think Are Cool. I'm your host, Liz Reed, one part of the art duo Cuddles and Rage, and this is my podcast to interview cool, interesting, creative people. Today on the show, we have Jimmy Aquino. He is the host of Comic News Insider, and I had the pleasure of getting to see him in person at this last MoCCA 2022, and he interviewed us for his podcast. And getting to know Jimmy has been a wonderful experience. You know, we got to talk to each other back and forth a little bit at MoCCA, but in getting to talk to him in a longer conversation during this interview, he had so many fun stories to tell, and he's interviewed so many great people. So I think this is a great little chat for anybody who's wanting to get into podcasts. I mean, he's been podcasting since 2005. Like, that's pretty incredible. That's a really long time to be consistent at something and to pick up on new technology and to just have that experience to become a great interviewer. So if you love comics, if you love New York, that's where Jimmy's based, then this is the interview for you. So guys, stay tuned and check out this lovely chat with Jimmy. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I want to start off with just getting to reconnect with each other at MoCCA recently. Mm-hmm. You interviewed us for your podcast, which you have behind you and I love, and people should watch the video and see Comic News Insider.
Yes.
We finally got to connect and do that interview. But just to kick it off, can you talk about what you were doing at MoCCA and, what you were doing there for yourself and also for the podcast?
So Comic News Insider started back in April 2005, one of the OGs. And I go to conventions all the time. And MoCCA, of course, being a local show, I want to support and cover. And I was there to do interviews. And I think I did about maybe from 8 to 10 interviews that weekend. And I go there to see friends and also just to discover new art, new comics, new artists. And I certainly did, which was really, really great.
Who new did you discover? Because that was one of the things that I talked to a few people about that. I didn't get to leave the table that much, but I didn't feel like I got to discover as much as I wanted to this year at MoCCA. And I hate to say that because it's always one of my favorite shows, but maybe it was a timing thing.
I did. And you can see me looking something up right now so I can get the names down real quick.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah.
I like to walk around to sort of just see who's there. And some I'll have set up ahead of time. Some interviews I've set up ahead of time. Other ones I will just walk around. I met some fantastic Taiwanese cartoonists, Chin Fan Lu and Eleni Ru Yifang. And they started this whole sort of anthology in Taiwan, Go Comics, and they feature other Taiwanese cartoonists as well. And they were the nicest, loveliest people. We had a great chat. They were concerned of the language barrier. They spoke English, but it went so swimmingly and smooth. They were so delightful to talk to and very talented. And that's what really drew my eye. And being Asian American myself, I also tend to look out for other Asians and Asian American artists out there to support and show love and showcase.
Awesome. I'll probably ask you for a link to their that I can put it in the show notes if you don't mind.
For sure.
So when you said 2005, okay, so that was when I was like digging in a little bit deeper. I saw that number too, and I saw that you're on podcast number 1284. So take me all the way back to 2005 when half the world, more than half the world, I think 99% of the world didn't know what a podcast was. How did you get started?
I started listening to them in like the end of 2004 because there was a Tech TV and they had they left and then left to go do podcasts. And I thought it was really interesting. And my producer, Joe Gonzalez, who was the original host, he left hosting a while back, but he wanted to start one. But at the time I was doing sketch comedy and I was writing a ton and we're performing a lot and I was still bartending full time here in New York City. So I didn't have time to really do with them. So he started it anyway with a friend of his. And they did about 20 episodes in 2005, and I was in about half of them because I was like, well, I want to do it. Yes, of course I want to come on. I just couldn't commit full time. And then finally at the end of 2005, 2006, he goes, oh, my other friend can't really do it much. And my sketch comedy group were sort of disbanding. And you probably heard of us. We were huge. I'm just kidding. the disbanding made national news, I'm sure. But we sat down because Joe and I are old buddies. We used to be roommates, So we were like, okay, let's do this. Let's not do 20 episodes a year. Let's do a weekly show. Let's create a format. Let's, go out to get interviews. Let's go to conventions like that. And since 2006, we've been weekly, and often more than weekly, because when I go to shows, I'll interview several people, or just on Zoom now, I can interview people all the time. I interviewed someone yesterday. So it's great. Yeah.
How have you stayed dedicated over all these years? I mean, you mentioned that you're a bartender. I also know, like, talking to you, did a lot of acting, and like, you're a man of many talents. So how do you just keep it
for a reason? No,
how do you keep it going?
I did musical theater for years. That's why I moved to New York originally. And I was very lucky. I worked about 3 or 4 shows a year. Be it a local show, national tour, whatever. And then when I left and then I started doing the podcast, it became sort of my entertainment outlet. Like I was missing that acting bug a little, but this sort of helps fill that. So that it's sort of creativity. And then when I'm reading other creators' works and or watching or things like that, and I get to talk to them, that's amazing to me, because I get to hear the process. I'm like, whether I sort of used to be involved in some of those processes. And it's really fun to sort of explore that and meet these people. And I've become friends with lots of cartoonists and actors and directors and people you may know just from doing the podcast. And it's really, really great.
I mean, have there ever been weeks where you've just taken, or time where you've taken like a month off or anything?
Only once did I ever do it was when my mom passed away a few years ago. I just needed a few, I think I took even less than a month off. And Joe took over and did it. I had some friends pop it up. Because it's just something I look forward to every week. Even now for quite a while, obviously I've been recording solo mostly because I haven't had anybody over. I used to always have someone over every week, or at least we tried every week. And whoever came over to co-host with me, I'd send them the comics to read or, hey, watch this and we'll talk about it. We'll cover the news, but I'd also cook for them. So I really miss that, because I'm not a bad cook. So it's like, I would love cooking for them and having them over, and a cartoonist friend, hey, come over and I'll interview and then we'll have dinner. And so that was really fun. But since I do it solo now, it's still really fun because I have friends send in like audio reviews. And that way it's not just my voice for the whole time,
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was really neat. Like, such a cool way to collaborate, and especially managing all the schedules, just to have people send stuff in.
Yeah. I mean, I pay them thousands to do it. So, they're taken care of. No, I have really, really lovely friends who take their time to read this and do it just because we're friends and they enjoy it. But all of them seem to enjoy it too. So it's really nice for them.
Since you've been following comics for so long, how have you seen the industry change?
Wow, a lot. I mean, like, obviously with the success of TV and film just going crazy with the Marvel wave, I've seen it, it definitely, to me, seems to lean more towards that way. Everyone wants to make a movie or a TV show. I'm like, how about just a comic? And some people just want to make a comic, which is great. And there's nothing wrong with it being turned into something else. I mean, we even talked about Cuddles and Rage, that could be maybe something else. You guys have explored it in different ways with it. But I see more people leaning towards that, but I also see sort of the rise of independent comics, something I've discovered more because of the podcast. Like, I read Capes and Tights superheroes my whole life, that's what I loved. And when I started the podcast, I'm like, oh, there's another world out there. So my favorite comics are probably more on the indie scene, or they're like, companies like, Self-Made Hero, First Second, Abrams Comic Arts has a great, Fantagraphics. I love or people that self-publish their own stuff. I love reading personal biographies, comics. I know I prefer those over like some of the mainstream stuff now, but yeah.
Yeah, I found that too. Because there's, some of them are, even if they're sloppy in like a charming way, because when people self-publish, like they're putting their whole selves out there. They're not, a lot of times they're not being edited. They don't really have somebody else to kind of tell them how to hold back. And for better or for worse, you know, you're getting this like almost a very intimate experience with a stranger. And I feel like only the best of writers can do that, either the best or the newest. The ones that can bring that to you, because you're not paranoid, or either you know how to tell a really good story. So out of all the shows, like, do you go to other comic shows throughout the month? I think maybe you mentioned TCAF.
Yeah, I've sort of picked some shows where I need to start exploring other ones, but I've found some shows that I really enjoy and that I go to all the time. And they tend to be each year. Start off with MoCCA in April here in New York. And then usually TCAF is in May, which is the Toronto Comic Arts Festival, which has a similar vibe to MoCCA, more indie centric, you know. Although they moved it to June this year. Then I would go to Heroes Con down in Charlotte, because I just love that show. It's more definitely leans towards more mainstream, but there is a lot of indie work there as well. And of course, the big San Diego Comic Con, and then New York Comic Con here. And then on occasion, I would like maybe go to Boston or Baltimore, SPX here and there. But yeah, and then also to England, I've been going to Thought Bubble for the past while, which I love. It's really great. Yeah. Thought Bubble is great.
I've talked to a handful of people. I mean, I think Jimmy would be totally down for it.
You're a Jimmy, of course. Yes.
Oh yes, my Jimmy. Yes, or maybe we could just take all the Jimmys.
Yeah, all the Jimmys will go. Why not? We'll all go.
Yeah, everybody has gone nuts for a Thought Bubble, and that one definitely takes a lot of planning and saving to go to. But I can't even imagine the different creators that you would be exposed to. Can you just walk me through what it's like and how it's different than the shows in the States?
Well, it's great. I'm a giant Anglophile, so I love going. I go every year. I would go for like 10 to 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks, and I stay in London for maybe a week, and then I travel over to see friends. And then they've moved recently from Leeds to Harrogate, so the space is a little bigger. But so I do have a lot of friends that are creators over there that I get to see. Another excuse to go to these cons is to see friends. You know, you only get to see at conventions once or twice a year. But it is, they do a lot of great programming, a lot of great, and I've often, as I do at a lot of comics shows, I often moderate panels for them. It's just a great lineup of not just UK talent, obviously, but it's got such a good reputation. A lot of my American and Canadian friends and friends from around the world will come. It's a great setup. It's really well run. Lisa just stepped down. There's people in the comic world know her, Tula Lute, and the amazing artist that she is. But Nabil still runs it. He's a good buddy, and he's fantastic. They it's just really well organized, and they really go out of their way to get a lot of great talent. I kind of don't have to, because people want to go. You know, they always want to be a part of it. So it's really nice to be an embarrassment of riches, you know, where they're like, oh, people want to come hang out with us. So that's cool. It's a great show. It really is. Yeah. And you're in England. I mean, it's great.
Oh, I mean, awesome. Well, yeah, of course. Any excuse to go over there.
Yeah.
I went, the last time I was over there was for work, which was like over a decade ago. And I got to be in business class, and I got to like recline and sleep. Amazing. And I was like, what is this? What is this experience? I know. I was like, I feel like I have over pampered, and now can I not go back? Maybe the price tag will make me rethink that. But that was crazy. So I guess being in New York and being around like, you know, being a bartender, but also being in the arts, I feel like you probably see a lot of talented people just pass on through. And
all the time.
Yeah. And I'm just curious about like all those conversations that you must have. Have you picked up on a vibe on people who are able to persevere and like quote unquote make it or achieve whatever they've wanted to come to New York for?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like this from a failed actor. No, I'm just kidding. But from someone who gave it all up. No, it's the stick-to-itiveness of it, I think, because when I moved here, I really got into the grind, and a bunch of us moved here, and I was waiting tables bartending full time. I would have classes, be it voice class once a week. I'd take some dance classes, musical theater dance class. I'd take acting classes. I'd have auditions. No joke. We'd sometimes have 3 auditions a day, 10 a week. And you really grinded. And that's what I see a lot of when even at my restaurant, the bar I bartend at, I meet these young actors just moved here. And I asked them, I go, oh, how many auditions did you have? Oh, I think I had one this week. And this week, you should have been to 3 today. It's like, so I feel like that attitude has changed. And I don't want to knock on Gen Z or millennials like that they're not trying hard enough, but it does feel like that there's a shift there. But my friends I've seen make it after being in the business forever. A friend of mine who's about 15 years older than me, we did shows together in Florida, and he's classically trained actor, amazing actor, started doing some TV, and then got a major TV show at 50 and was hired for 3 episodes. They loved him so much, became a series regular, 1 and 2 Emmys on the show. And now he's like this big TV star. People know who he is. And that took him till he was 50 to sort of get to that level. He was happy doing theater and doing other things, but to get to the level he's now, it took a while. So sometimes it's just sticking with it. And you do see that people in New York has a different drive to it. A lot of the actors are like constantly working on their craft, which, as you know, as an artist, that's something you have to do.
Yeah, I love that because, there does come a point in every creative's career where, like, for me, I'll turn 40 in August. And, you start looking at, I talk about this a lot on the podcast, the youngins coming in. You're like, I'm
damn youngsters.
I'm the old person now.
The experienced person.
I'm seasoned. I'm the seasoned person.
Seasoned,
I know better than to wear heels behind the table. But, it really is that you can't. I love hearing that story that you just told about your friend making it at 50, because you can't really think of it that way as something where you're going to like age out of being creative. Because if you're able to do it and to make something that people are attracted to, then it's going to happen. And it doesn't matter if you're like 10 or 70.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Game,
yeah. And, okay. So here's another thought for you. Because I feel like with social media, I've kind of slowed down a lot. I'm trying to get back up to it, but I just felt like the pressure, like so much pressure to just like constantly be posting because, there's it was such a weird thing. Like it made me think about like older people and TikTok, how, you take something like TikTok and you can go viral like right away.
Yeah.
You can have like this rush of attention. And then if you don't maintain it, it's like all taken away.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess in your experience, like either talking to people or in your personal like acting experience, have you had anything like that or seen it? And I guess what are your thoughts on like the flash in the pan attention and not writing it?
That's something about like with acting in general or anything in general. Like, I was in some very successful shows. I did the 30th anniversary of Hair, the musical here in the city that was wildly popular. And we had all these great things going to happen with it, and it fell through because it is a business. But we had people like, lines out the door. We sold it every night. Remember these high school students like chased a couple of us down the street one day. Like they were so excited to see it. It's like, oh my God, you guys, we saw Hair. We loved it. It was really, really a fun feeling. But then once the show's over, you got to get another show, like that.
Yeah,
so keep grinding. So that's something that the whole thing of like keeping your profile up, it is tough. And that's the thing I always worry about. I have a couple of friends that are pretty big YouTubers, and we've talked a lot about, I go, they are like have, degrees. They're also actors. They can do other things. But I worry about we've talked about these other, YouTubers or TikTokers or, I hope they have another plan, because I hope that they continue to be successful in what they seem to enjoy doing on their social media platforms. But what if it doesn't work out? What else do you have going on? And that's what's tough. I always try to tell people, and not that I've ever been like, Johnny successful like some of these people I know, but it's just like, have another plan just in case, like keep doing your art as much as you can. But just be prepared for, if that popularity suddenly wanes, so.
Yeah. I mean, that makes me think about the Duplass brothers and like their book, like Brothers, and how, the best advice that they gave was, when you get that first paycheck to just invest it. And like they happened to invest it in Netflix, back
Oh my
when
God.
Netflix was like under $100 in stock. Okay. Stock talk.
Yeah.
That's when,
Oh my
you've really
gosh.
become an adult. I mean, the point is that like, you get this huge chunk of money. And like you said, like if you, a lot of people's careers, no matter what it is, like might slow down. So you have to take that investment and invest in your future and probably get a financial advisor or else you might find yourself bankrupt. Like I know working in television, we hired a talent and their show actually fell through, but they were just like buying gifts for everybody. And it makes me wonder, looking back, I'm like, do you have any money left over? Like, it fell through. Your plan fell through. But you can't, I don't want our conversation to sound like a downer, but you have to work through that. But, similar to what you're saying to the show, like, I think it's important to find inspiration from all different kinds of people. And like, and the questions that you're answering now, like, you're friends with people in every pocket of life.
It's weird. And, I seem to have a lot of friends everywhere. I don't know how it happened, but
I mean, how does that influence like your decisions just on a day-to-day or as a creative?
It's just, it's great that I have a lot of different people I could pull from, not just inspiration from, but also like creativity. And like, if I'm, have an idea or want to reach out to them on something, I have that privilege where I can like, oh, I know this person and I'm lucky enough to meet them. And like, half of them I met through either my acting career or the podcast interview. And then we became friends after that. And it's really, it's nice to have that. And I get, the people are like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. You know them. I go, well, yeah, it's cool. I know them because they're my friend. Not just because they're like well known or something like that. People always, and I get that. I'll get that a lot of people, my friends, fans will like reach out to me, and some of them can be a little, but a little super fanny, and they're like, "You're so lucky to know that person." I was like, "Well, what if they're lucky to know me?" You don't know us, but no. But it's nice to like, it's like I forget half the time, like, oh, this person. Oh, they're on TV or they do this big comic or whatever. I forget about that because I'm like, oh, we're just friends having dinner or whatever. But it is nice over dinner or just on a text or a call to be like, to be able to like, just chat with them and hear what inspires them, and what goes through their head. So that's kind of, I sort of live vicariously through that. So.
No, I think that's great because you're not using words like building your network or, like very businessy words that come with like friendships now. Like, I feel like, everybody thinks of themselves as a brand. Like, how creepy is that? Like, we're being raised to think of that. And that your friends are your network. Yeah.
I just like, people always said with the podcast, we've been going so long. And we did at one point have a sponsor for a long time sponsor, and then we don't anymore. But it's just like, we never really pursued trying to be this big thing because it's just fun for us. And maybe had we done it, might have worked out, might not have, who knows. But I was just still, and even now, it kind of annoys me when first seeing people say like, when I'm like, oh, I do this podcast. Oh, so what do you make money from it? Nothing. I'm a bartender, so I make my money. It's like, it's just something I do for fun. And it's just a creative sort of, it says hobby outlet. It is a lot of work, but it's fun. It's fun stuff I love doing. So, yeah.
Are you still acting?
No, I haven't done that. I call myself a recovering actor. And because I haven't done it, my last national tour was in the year 2000. And then I did the sketch comedy for about a year in 2005. But like I said, with the podcast, I find that my creative outlet. And then usually every 100 episodes, we'll do a live show at a friend's bar or something like that. We'll take over one of the floors and I'll invite friends to be guests on, either a cartoonist or an actor or whatever. And they've slowly become musicals over the years because it's dumb, but it's silly and fun. But I was a musical theater actor. So I get my singer friends. I write spoofs of songs. Like I just take a song from Les Mis or from pop or, a hip hop song or whatever. And I change the lyrics to something to do with like Captain America or Star Wars or Batman, and it's just silly and fun. And sometimes it's funny, but so it's become this sort of entertainment show that, people come to. It's very, an audience of 30 to 50, just hanging out, watching us, and it's all free. We just kind of hang out and do it. It's at a bar, so they get drinks. And that I miss. We haven't done one of those in about 3 years. But those are super. So that's still sort of my creative acting bug outlet where on occasion I'll write a spoof song and sing it on the show, which much to some of my listeners' chagrin, but but I enjoy it, whatever.
Right. This is for me, guys. Exactly. I do this for free.
Exactly. Come on, whatever. That's what I say when I get the slight criticism of podcast. I go, well, it is free. You don't have to listen. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you really get criticism?
On occasion, we'll get the occasional, and it's usually when I have like a celebrity on that I'm interviewing, and it's been a while since it's happened, but it'll be like, well, the host talked, over the guest or whatever like that. I was like, well, I was having a conversation with them. I don't like to say I do an interview. I'm having a conversation with somebody. Yes, I happen to talk about their work, but if we start talking about like cooking or traveling on the side, great. And they're asking me questions, so that's the occasional critique I get is that where it's like, I don't let their idol talk enough, so it's like, I'm like, okay, well, it is my podcast. And some people do tune in for me, there's about 3 people that do, and I tune in just for me. So, like I listen to podcasts, I tune in for the host. And if they have a great guest, awesome. But I tune in for the host,
Yeah. The banter. The actual conversation, not the question, exactly. Stay quiet.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
How do you get your guests? I mean, I know you walked around the show and talked to people, but what are some other ways?
Well, Liz, I'm kind of internet famous, so no, I'm just kidding. But, so people seek me out. No, I mean,
well, I'm sure doing it since 2005. Yeah, there's probably some of that or lots of that.
Well, I have put a little bit of a grind into, especially for TV and film now. Like I put a little bit of a grind into meeting publicists for all the big companies. I've befriended several publicists. That's been very helpful, getting me big interviews. But just for in the comic book world, which is, again, it's just from going to shows and meeting friends, meeting people, and through them, we'll go to the bar later. I mean, unless a lot of us jokingly call it at a convention, we go to BarCon later. We go to the bar and hang out. And I've met so many people and gotten so many interviews from meeting them the night before at the bar. I'm like, maybe I'll come by come by. Let's have a little chat, and it's really great. So it's really just sort of like going up and introducing yourself. And a lot of times if I'm going to a convention, I'll look at the guest list and I'll say, there's some people I know I want to talk to. I've probably had on before, but I'll look at, their work looks really interesting. Let me check this out, go to their websites, do a little bit of research. And sometimes contact them ahead of time. Other times they show up, go, hey, I'm Jimmy with Comic News Insider, and I'd love to chat with you on my podcast. And 99% of the time they're like, sure, and on a rare occasion, someone's like, I've got a signing or I've got a panel to go to. It doesn't happen. But everyone seems very delightful and wants to talk. So that's always a fun way to find people.
Your podcast name also sounds very professional. I feel like it's easier to have people on like Comic News Insider than like whatever quirky name podcast.
I know. And this is all Joe, because Joe started it, basically, producer Joe. And I remember I was like, I don't know about that name. Because we're not journalists. I want to be very clear with people. They're like, I'm not a journalist at all. I am what they call new media. I've learned from my professional journalist friends some journalistic ethics, how to act. Because I certainly see other people in rooms that do not know how to act in these press rooms and do not know how to properly do an interview or this and that. But Joe came up with the name, and I remember when I sort of when he left in 2011 from hosting, he still produces. I thought about maybe just change it up, change the name like that. Then I was like, no, people know us, and it's a cool name. Because I was probably gonna come up with some dumb name one of those nerdy-tastic fun stuff, whatever. Maybe not.
Or people are embarrassed to say that they listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'll take the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity, please.
Oh gosh, I can only guess what kind of weird bar drink names people have said to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, plenty. Well, there are already some established weird ones out there. So yeah.
Right. Talking about professionalism and interviewing people, my friend was just telling me, like years ago, actually, because the pandemic is like it's like erased our minds. But I forgot what celebrity. It was like a major celebrity. It was like maybe Vince Vaughn or somebody.
Wow.
But like he walked in and the guy leaving was like, okay, now we get a selfie. You're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
You're a journalist.
That's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing that happens. And like, my thing is always, because we do these roundtables at Comic Cons where they bring in the cast of all the, shows, and they'll usually bring them over 1, 2, or 3 at a time. And then there's a literal round table of 7 or 8 media people, and they'll have like 6 or 7 of those tables throughout the room. And so my thing is always like, okay, when the thing is over and they're about to leave, fair game, because then you go up and chat to them, get a quick picture, fine. But during the round table, do not ask them for a selfie. And that happens. Yeah. I see that so much, and it drives me crazy. And I'm like, oh no. Yeah. I remember one time I felt really uncomfortable because I would always ask before they get up, I go, can I get a quick picture, meaning just of them? And then the celebrity's like, well, why not together? And I was like, oh, no, just of you. And they insisted. They're like, oh, we should have one together. So I felt really uncomfortable. The other media are like looking like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, she kind of insisted. So I was like, okay, quick. So I felt really bad. I apologize. They're like, well, no, she asked for it. I was like, okay, great. Good. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, I usually just do it just as a quick picture for the website of them, But yeah, when people start doing it, then, and most of the celebrities are like, just go with the flow. They don't want to be. On occasion, I see them go, okay, no, not right now. It's not the best time, which is, I'm like, good. And you'll see some sort of inappropriate questions being asked, and again, if the publicist isn't standing right there, the celebrity has to handle it. And often they're pretty good at they're media trained and how to handle it. But on occasion, you can see there's a little, okay, that wasn't cool to ask that or whatever, and they get called out on it. So.
Yeah, what's the etiquette there as a fellow journalist when something like that happens?
It's weird because it's one that sticks out to me is we were doing the Gotham cast, and one of the younger actors was on, and this guy just asked sort of an inappropriate question. She's a young girl, and it's like something about like, I can't remember, something about like maybe being like sexy or like that. I'm like, she's 13, dude, calm down, and it's like, and even she was even like, you could tell we often, and then a few of us started to say something. I think we all kind of looked at each other like, and it was a little pause, and she handled it well. And then what a pro. She gets up to the table to the next table, then comes back, leans down to talk to him and said, I just want you to know what you asked was really inappropriate, and you should not do that. And it made all of us here feel not very comfortable. And if you can not do that in the future, I was like, what a pro. We were so proud of her. We were like, my God. And felt ashamed that we didn't speak up and say anything at the time, because we were just sort of shocked. Like, why would you do that? But we were very stoked that she stood up for herself. That was great.
Wow. As a 13-year-old to say that, I would have just shrunken. Yeah. Even as an adult, sometimes I just shrink.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. Unfortunately, you run into that people. Yeah. And it's just like, not even that, it's just people that just sort of jump in and ask, like, if you're doing a one-on-one, sure, have some fun, throw in the silly games, the silly questions. But you're at a table with other people there also, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Or even like the touching thing. Like I remember watching something with like, I think it was an Avengers thing. And I don't know if it was Chris Evans or somebody, but like somebody was like, can I touch show me your bicep? And then they just started touching the bicep. And you know what? Like if that was reversed, like a male interviewer and like a female actress, like people would be screaming at that.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be male or female. You shouldn't be allowed to like asked to touch the celebrity. It's also creepy too to ask if I can touch you.
Oh, it is. It's always like they're when I've been in panels and I see, and then some of the questions, like in Hall H in San Diego, like someone has a catch line, from their sci-fi show, and every time because can you say that line? I'm like, why? You've just wasted people's time of like getting a real question because you just want to hear them say the line. It's cute and fun, but it's like, come on. And you can see the celebrity just go, sure, do it. But it's just like, oh, come on, guys. I get the excitement of meeting somebody or seeing somebody so famous. You're like, oh my God, that's the person I love. I totally understand that. You get caught up in the moment, but it's just like, oh man, think about their feelings. They're people too.
I mean, we just need to show that Simpsons episode where
Yeah.
Bart Simpson, I forgot what the line was, but he basically had his like catchphrase and everybody wanted to say it. And he just like became so small towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to put yourself
sure.
in other people's shoes, which I guess a lot of people don't do that anymore. Or we just expect people to do what we say, which is creepy.
Yeah. As much as I would have wanted George Takei to say, "Oh my," when I interviewed him, I certainly didn't ask him. That would have been amazing. But
right, he might have just said it on his own, though, too.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I mean, we talked for 30 minutes, so I was like, it might have been in there somewhere. But yeah.
Where did you get to talk to him?
Oh my God, it's at San Diego Comic-Con. He had written co-written the graphic novel about his time in the American internment camps where they, ashamedly, America had rounded up a lot of Japanese citizens. They're American citizens, but they were of Japanese descent, and put them in these internment camps during World War II. And he was a little kid, and he was in them. And so he wrote about that. And as a young Asian actor, he was the only thing I ever saw on TV that like, oh, he's not the cook or the assistant or the comedy part. He's got, he's actually got, meaning to his character. Sulu was the first Asian character I saw on TV that meant something to me. So he's been an idol of mine for years. And he, not just like, amazing Asian rights activist, gay rights activists, and just incredible talent. So I've been wanting to talk to him forever. So when the publicist at Top Shelf, who I knew, helped hook that up, and I was just like, oh my God, thank you so much. And we chatted for about 5 minutes off mic, and then 20, and then another 5 off. And I was genuinely moved after I left the room. I went and sat down. I started crying because I'm getting a little, because it's such an important thing to me. He was such an inspiration to me as a young Asian actor. And to be able to talk to him and talk about his life and what he went through was so moving. My friend comes up, the publicist, like, you're right. I'm like, thank you so much. It just meant so much to me. It was such a privilege and an honor. And I don't say that much by talking to me, but it really was, because he was just such an important part of my young life. And to be able to meet that, and sometimes meet your heroes is good, not always, but I've had some other I had to go the other way, but yeah, for sure. But it was really great.
Wow, that is beautiful.
Yeah,
to have the chance to have like a real connection with somebody that you've admired. Yeah, he's always sounded like a beautiful
being
person.
Filipino, and he like explained, which I didn't know this. I can't believe it. He goes, did you know Sulu is actually named after the Sulu Sea in the Philippines? I'm like, what? When I told him I was Filipino, I was like, oh my God, how do I not know that? So, we were like even kind of dressed in similar colors that day. It's great. It was like, it just all worked out.
Those are the best kind of days.
Yeah, it really was a great day.
So a couple questions for you, because I feel like you just answered like my final question I was going to ask, which is like the best, interview or the person you got most excited. So I feel like you might have covered that. I feel like with them. Yeah. But then, okay, so 2 more questions. You kind of hinted at not so good interviews. You don't have to say the person, but give me some juice on somebody who was awkward or inappropriate or something.
Well, again, it was a round table we did. And another super well-known sci-fi actor, legendary actor, who also is maybe known to be a little curmudgeon-y and maybe a little bit, maybe not that great. And I talked about, they were doing a documentary about their fans, their sci-fi fans. And in the documentary, it showed how a lot of the cast members talked about how like, oh, I've become friends with some of these fans. So I sort of mentioned that. I just went, oh, you could see like the other actors, has it ever happened with you? Have you ever become friends with any of these fans? And just point back, does the pause and just goes, no. I went, great. It was like so awkward. The whole table felt really awkward. Like, okay, where do we go?
Right.
Like,
there's no need to elaborate.
And he was not going to. So
wow. I feel like,
just like, all right.
I mean, anybody that you talk to where you ask a question, they know that you're interviewing them and they just give a one word answer. I mean, that really does shut down the vibe, no matter who it is.
Yeah. And I'm pretty fast on my feet, and like, I'm a talker, as everyone can see now, but it's like, and I used to be an actor, so I know how to talk. I think I'm all right talking with people interviewing, but when people are one wording it, I can sort of get around it, but it's just like, come on, I know you don't want to be here. Maybe your publicist made you do it, but it's just like, have a little fun. That's something I do get a little frustrated. Not frustrated, but just like, oh, I guess I understand, but also don't where an artist or a writer or an actor or whatever doesn't want to talk about old work. Oh, that's what I want to talk about. So I was like, well, it's new to somebody. It's always new to somebody. And I might have that one person that just discovered this work, and like, oh my God, and is excited about it. So that'll happen on occasion where I'm like, oh, and your work you did, like, I don't want to talk about that. Oh, okay. Let's move on to something else and respect their wishes. But it's just like, wow, okay. I just feel like it may be boring and old hat to you, but it's brand new for somebody else. So I don't know. It's their right. It's their right. Absolutely. They're right.
Jimmy and I were buying somebody's album after a concert, and I guess he was doing his own merch. And so we asked for the older album, and he's like, you don't want the new one? And we were like, no. Like, why make it awkward for all of us? Just let me give you money. That's all. It's what you want, right? Money.
Listen, lady, I really like my old album. I asked you to buy. You said you didn't want it. That's so funny.
Ridiculous.
Oh, man. Wow.
Okay,
yeah, no,
Jimmy. Yeah. Final question.
Uh-oh.
Actually, okay, yeah. I'm just going to leave it at fine. I always have two questions. I'm like, oh, there's always so much to ask. I just get so excited. You know what? Fuck it. I'm doing two questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Why not?
Right. I'm ready. Okay. Now, within the, professional interviewing world, who would you like to interview that you haven't gotten to?
Oh, wow. There's several, but it's like, it stayed on the Star Trek path. I always wanted to talk to Nichelle Nichols. And then unfortunately she passed, but another dream one would have been Carrie Fisher. Oh my God. I would love to just talk to her just because she's so amazing. Gosh, there's so many. There's so many I'd love to talk to. Like, man, I honestly, Natalie Dormer, I love so much. I think she'd be amazing to chat with. I really, as being Asian American Pacific Islander History Month right now, I always try to reach out to Asian Americans or Asians and, entertainers and writers and to talk to. So there's definitely more of that. I'd love to chat with a lot of well-known in that. Aquino, my God, I'd love to talk to her. My God, she'd be amazing. Michelle Yeoh would be a legend. Oh my God, if I could talk to Michelle Yeoh, that would be, yeah. So I could send you a list of 100. I'd love to, but I'd say Michelle Yeoh is pretty high up there. Yeah.
All good choices. Yes. Yeah. I love it. All women too. I think you.
Oh, you think about that, was it?
Yeah.
There's definitely several men I'd love to talk to, but that's the other thing is like, and I don't want to be this like thing, but it's like, I've actually started focusing more on trying to find creators of color and also female creators and people just not, and I don't want to sound like this, the straight white man, it's like we have plenty of those, and I've interviewed plenty of those, but I'd rather showcase, but I'd like to showcase, my fellow Asians, the people of color, gay creators, women, people, gender fluid. I'd rather showcase that more in the just because I don't know, that's what the world is, what the world is out there.
And so I feel like in mainstream comics, from a female perspective, like I feel like they haven't even touched on enough female creators. It's just barely there. Yeah. And everybody's just kind of checking off a list, oh, you're, gay, bi, like, person of color, like, let's just make sure we have everything covered. Yeah. And still have our straight white male creators like still getting the big stuff. So, which maybe like that makes me sound like terrible, but I'm probably just seeing that from a superficial standpoint, but that's what it feels like sometimes when you look behind the curtain a little bit. But
that's what I would do at certain conventions. I would like be given in charge of create a panel or two. So I'd create a panel with just women on it, but it would not be a women in comics panel. It would just be about their art and their work and what they do. And I would do like an all Asian panel, but it wasn't about the fact they're Asian. It's the fact that they're amazing creators. And because, you don't need to point out, that guy, like, it's all right. Like these are amazing creators and, and what they do. So let's showcase them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. My final, like for real final question. You are in New York. You're a bartender. You've probably seen some crazy shit. Tell me the craziest. I want to hear the story that you say at dinner parties where people are like, tell me about what you do.
It's on the daily. I mean, like just in general, not just at the bar. Yeah. Cause at the bar that, doesn't get too crazy because we're a nicer restaurant, but it's like, I definitely see stuff. We definitely still see stuff. We see stuff outside. We've had a lot of issues outside, but just in general, like New York life in general can be just wackadoodle. The people you meet. I remember back in the day in the 90s, my friends, we had this apartment and we'd always do these big New Year's Eve parties. And so we'd invite the building, and it was like a small building, like maybe 6 or 7 apartments. And this random dude who was like the new boyfriend of one of the upstairs neighbors, yeah, come on down, hang out. And so I ended up leaving around 1 or 2 to pick my girlfriend up at where she was bartending. We went back to her place. And I come back the next morning, like 10 or 11, and there's this dude in our living room, passed out, the boyfriend neighbor upstairs, naked.
In your living room?
Just a bed blanket in our living room, barely a blanket on him. Naked. Why were you naked? I don't understand. What happened? What happened to your clothes, and why are you in our living room? And so I just had to sort of like kick him awake, and I'm like, dude, you gotta go. And he like, all right, shuffles, grabs his clothes and runs back upstairs with his girlfriend. And asked later, my roommate, he's like, oh, we're just hanging out drinking. And then I guess they got in a fight. I said he could sleep on the couch. What happened to his clothes? Why are his clothes off? And there was no answer.
Oh, he probably sleeps naked no matter where.
We're just like, well, that's a typical New York story for sure. So it's just like something that happens all the time. Just weird, dumb stuff like that. But yeah.
Gosh, I'm sure. I'm blanking on that HBO show with John. Oh my gosh. I'm going to flash on the screen. John, I always think of all these not John Oliver. He does New York. He walks through and he does.
Yes.
You know what I'm trying to say? That's the best show ever. Yeah, I could watch every season of that guy.
Yeah. You can't just walking on the street. You'll see the most random things, of people just arguing or having fun, and it's just dressed in like. There you go. Like dressed in however they want to dress. It's just really great. It's like it's such a weird city, but yet awesome at the same time because you have such access to so many great things, and you do. It's entertaining just to sit just walking down the street, for sure.
I prefer it over LA. I feel like you're just in the car way too much when you're in LA, and you don't have to.
New York's a big walking city. Yeah. New York's a big walking city. You walk everywhere. Yeah, for sure.
Every MoCCA, it's been raining except for this past year.
Wow. Yeah.
That is the worst part. Where you just have to deal with the cold and the weather. But
yeah, I love walking through just neighborhoods, and I hang out in Koreatown a lot because I love the food. I have friends that work down there, and that's another. I was walking down one day to meet them. These 2 drunk guys in an argument, and they're friends. But at one point, they start fighting, then they stop, start hugging, then they start fighting again, they start hugging. It's just like, well, another New York, another night in New York. There you go.
I'm just going to stand here and watch.
And literally, there were 10 of us because I was waiting for my friends to come meet me, and I was outside with the door guy at this one bar, and we were just like, should we help? They seem okay. Should we step in? And because they wouldn't physically punch, but they were sort of grabbing each other. And then they would hug each other. Well, I can't tell if they're fighting now or hugging again. So I guess we should leave them alone. They seem to be working it out. I think they're working it out.
Or it's like when you want to break up dogs or behaviorists, there's always like open an umbrella in between them. So that's what I would go to, is open an umbrella and break it up.
Oh, I wonder if that would work in a fight in the street. Like, let's start carrying an umbrella. Just open it between people that are arguing.
Seriously, it's better than pepper spray or anything. Like nobody's, you can't say anything about that.
Oh, that's a good idea. It's like carrying on my umbrella now.
There you go. Well, Jimmy, I'm so glad that we finally got to make this work.
That's delightful. I was totally joking at MoCCA when you told me about that. When I talked on the podcast, I go, well, you haven't had me on yet. And I was like, oh, I'm kidding. But then you were like, hey, do you want to be on it? I was like, oh my God, I'd be delighted. That'd be great. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
I mean, hello, you've been podcasting since 2005. How many people do you get to talk to that have been doing that? And like listening to all the great people that you've talked to and all the experiences that you've had.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just really fun time. Have a good time. And when did you start yours?
Oh gosh. I think around like 2013, 2014.
That's a long time.
I know. I just haven't been as consistent as you. I've been a little bit on and off because I mostly started it. I know people have heard me say this all the time, just because I loved having coworkers. So I could reach out to people and be like, everybody's my coworker. Jimmy, you're my coworker now.
Yeah. Excellent.
So but then when, when a book or something comes up, then I pretty much like slow down because I have to focus on that.
Of course. Yeah, because your work. Exactly.
Yeah, no sponsorships here.
Yeah,
although I got a vaping company early on. They really? Like, want to sponsor you. I was like, no, thank you.
I'm good. I'm good, thanks. That's all right. Yeah, well, it's also tougher to like book interviews too sometimes. So you're an interview show, so it's a little tougher to get one every all the time, like once a week. It can be a little tough.
Yes, I have.
But you're doing it on your own.
Yeah.
You don't have a booker. You're the booker. So yeah.
No, that's true. That's one of the things that like I wish I had thought about more with the format. Sometimes I'll do like a Lizzie special, but then I'm also like, I mean, actually those do get better ratings, but I don't know. I don't like putting all my shit out there all the time. So.
Yeah, sure. No, I hear you. That's wise. I've gotten better about it, but I unfortunately like put it out too much sometimes. Like, oh, okay, maybe I need to rein it in a little, but yeah. Totally get it.
Right.
Totally get it.
Well, Jimmy, until next time, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we'll get to see each other at a thought bubble one day.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I plan on going this year. We'll see how it goes. But the plan is November to be there. See, you guys should look into it. I think you do really well there.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. We should. I mean, any excuse to go to England. Oh, and then next time we're in New York, I'm just going to send you an email and say, where should we go?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Come by. I'll let you know where I work. Come by there for sure. And then we should go out to grab a bite to eat somewhere. I know plenty of great spots. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being on the. Oh, hey, before I let you go, where can people find you?
Oh, yes. I'm all over the place. So comicnewsinsider.com for the podcast. We're a weekly podcast covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture. And then me personally, I'm just at Jimmy Aquino. That's JIMMYAQUINO. Instagram and Twitter mostly. Find me there and say hello.
No TikTok?
Be gentle. No, I have social media. I have the name on all those social medias. Like I have a TikTok, but I've never once posted. I just on occasion flip through to see my friends' stuff. And Facebook, I tend to keep a little more personal, but it's just like, I'll sign up for the new ones, but rarely use them. Yeah, it's just not my thing. I'm an old.
Hey man, we all have our names on Clubhouse.
Yes, boy. Yeah, I did Clubhouse, and there was a new one that I got sent an invite to. I signed up for it. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it. Someone's like, "This might be the new one." If everyone's leaving Twitter, I'm like, "Okay, put me in." I guess. So,
if everyone's leaving Twitter, okay. That reminds me of, okay, then after that, I'll stop recording because I'm sure people will. Right. Do you remember that one? I think when Facebook bought Instagram, there was a guy that popped up who was making his own version of Instagram, and it wasn't going to be like an algorithm. But then people found out he was a shitty person. And so we were all like, delete. It was like within 24 hours.
Yeah, well, like what were some of the ones that popped up? It was like there was Vero, there was Mastodon.
Mhm.
Mastodon confused me, and then there was like a couple other ones that were Twitter like, and here and there. But I'm just like, it's tough to go up against the juggernauts. I mean, definitely needs more. We need more choices. In Tumblr, I have, but I kind of just post. It's sort of like when I post another stuff, I send to there.
Yeah.
I never really used it original on its own, but it's so yeah, so it's mostly just sort of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook for me. But yeah, if it
Yeah.
changes, I'll find some. I'm sure I'll jump on the wagon. And be like, sure, let's do it. Because like I said, Clubhouse, I never listened to one thing. I never joined in. I never tried to, never hosted anything. And that's already seemed to be gone. So
Oh, I did. And then I
you did?
slowly quit. Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah,
seemed like a good opportunity, but I really think that
yeah.
like Elon Musk was the one that pushed that when people said, oh, you could listen to him live talking. Then everybody just
Why? Why would people? I don't know.
I know, right? I know. And now we're
okay.
like Mr. Supervillain Twitter owner.
Yeah, right. Let's have those little yellow minions show up. You're like, all right.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Awesome.
before we hit every political topic.
Right, exactly. Let's steer clear. Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Of course. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I had a great time. Thank you.